Good afternoon, I'm Brian Reagan, and this is
Tyler Kelly.
And we are here for our midday meditation from the book of Isaiah. And if you will, go on ahead and read verses 1 through 7 of Isaiah chapter 18, Tyler.
Woe to the land shadowed with buzzing wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which sends ambassadors by sea, even in vessels of reed on the waters, saying, Go, swift messengers, to a nation tall and smooth of skin, to a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation powerful and treading down, whose lands the rivers divide. All inhabitants of the world and dwellers on the earth, when he lifts up the banner on the mountains, you see it, and when he blows a trumpet, you hear it. For so the Lord said to me, I will take my rest, and I will look down from my dwelling place like clear heat and sunshine, like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. For before the harvest, when the bud is perfect and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he will both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks and take away and cut down the branches. They will be left together for the mountain birds of prey and for the beasts of the earth. The birds of prey will summer on them, and all the beasts of the earth will winter on them. In that time a present will be brought to the Lord of hosts from a people tall and smooth of skin, and from a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation powerful and treading down, whose land the rivers divide, to the place of the name of the Lord of hosts, to Mount Zion.
All right. So we have this judgment or proclamation against Ethiopia. And we said, brother, it's... Why would we take time going through the book of Isaiah on some of these chapters? First of all, there's a lot of people who've been in the church 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, never have gone through the book of Isaiah. Or if they have, they think they have, because they hit the main 20 or 30 chapters that deal with Jesus. But Isaiah is about far more than just Israel and Judah. It's about nations that interact with Israel and Judah. It's about God's interaction with the entire world. You see, as God's proclaiming judgment against these different nations, each one of these judgments has a line or two in it that looks for the Messiah. And why is that? Because as God is judging the world, and this goes to something that is, the patriarchal, the Mosaical, and now the gospel. The patriarchal system had almost no rules. The Mosaic system had a ton of rules. The gospel has almost no rules. But what couple of rules it has are huge. Because you see, under the patriarchal, man could say, if you'd let us do things our own way, we wouldn't mess it up. And the patriarchal system proves what? They messed it up enough, he had to wipe the whole planet clean, start over again. Then someone says, well, God, if you'd give us some guidance and tell us what you want, we'd know exactly what to do and we'd do it. They had the Mosaic. They messed it up just as bad as the patriarchs. But with the gospel, there's just enough rules for those who need the guidance to know what they need to do, but not so many rules that it becomes tiresome. So what does that have to do with Isaiah? Everything. All these different nations are proof that race, religion, philosophy, economies, with God or without God, the nations without God aren't doing any better than the nations that have God, because the nations that have God don't listen to Him. And so in that judgment, God's not just condemning these other nations, God ultimately condemns Israel. That as we move toward Messiah, as we move towards Jesus, and as we move to God's final stage, which is a people to be His nation because they want to be, that we don't have to be a people bound with tons of rules, because the only reason we're here as Christians is because we choose to. If you were born in Ethiopia and your skin was black, you were an Ethiopian. If you were born in Israel and you were circumcised on the 8th day, you were an Israelite. It was what it was. But in the kingdom, all these nations, it doesn't matter. What does matter? That there's a people who are going to bring a gift to God, that are going to exalt God. And these nations that he's condemning them because they aren't doing what they know they should. And so he's made a preparation and plan that for the nations and for Israel, he's going to bring both together at the cross. And Tyler, that's exactly what Ephesians 2 and Colossians 2 both say. Mm-hmm. He reconciled Jew and Gentile. He reconciled the nations. He brought all of it together in one person, Jesus Christ, at the cross in the church. And that's why we're looking at these. He said, no, I mean, it's another judgment. They're going to do stuff. It's not going to work out for them until they get on the right page with God. That message is true for Israel and everything that's not Israel. Oh, and that would probably mean it's basically true that way for the entire planet nowadays too. Just something to think about. Do you have some other thoughts on this one, my brother?
No, sir.
All right, Lord willing, we'll see you back tonight for our Twilight Talks.
No, tonight's Bible class.
Oh yeah, tonight's Bible class. Thank you, Tyler. We'll see you back the next night. That'll be Thursday.
It will be.
Yeah, we'll see you back Thursday night for Twilight Talks. But not till we see you for breakfast and lunch again.
Exactly.
All right.